Hi, Andy XL back with another NFXL podcast. And remarkably, now it's turned to, according to last season's rankings, the ninth worst team in the NFL. And let's do a season review, stoke preview as we go into the close season, off season, um, of the Kansas City Chiefs in a state of the franchise address. So I said during the 2024 season that the Chiefs were overperforming and getting wins that more than the roster warranted. Well, in 2025, the reverse pretty much happened when what could go wrong did go wrong and resulted in the Chiefs losing their divisional title and not even making the postseason. And now they head into this off-season with much contemplation of how they rebuild this roster to get them back to being the franchise of the decade they were in the first half of this decade. So just how big a rebuild is required and what must they do in order to first of all regain the AFC West title they lost in 2025? And then we'll have to start by somehow getting some cap space to work with. Well, they've done that by restructuring Patrick Mahomes' contract to give him a huge signing bonus. So now they have up to around 40 million of cap space to work with. So quarterback, well, the only question here is how quickly Patrick Mahomes can get back to full health after that devastating knee injury he suffered in week 15 against the Chargers. Mahomes did everything he could possibly do to carry this team in 2025, but going forward they need to give him a lot more help than they have done so in the last two seasons. At running back, well, the Chiefs ranked 20th in the league for running the ball in 2025. Getting that somewhere near the top 10 in the league will take a lot of pressure off Mahomes in the passing game to start with. Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco combined for just over 1,300 scrimmage yards and 11 touchdowns last season, but both of these guys are now free agents. The Chiefs need to find a way to add at least 400 to 500 yards of production and half a dozen more scores from their running back room next season. If neither Hunt or Pacheco are back, then drafting a running back early has to be on the cards. And that may be the case even if they bring one of these two back. And what they do in free agency with that cap space might be interesting at running back too. Right, a quick drink before we talk wide receiver, where the Chiefs' passing game was little better than their ground attack, ranking 19th in the league. They had five wide receivers who recorded between 345 and 587 yards last season. And that quintet combined for 15 touchdowns. Leading wide receiver Rashee Rice missed the first half of the season and would have been a 1,000-yard receiver with a full season. So they need to get him to do that in 2026 for starters. Three of the other four, Hollywood Brown, Tyquan Thornton, and Juju Smith-Schuster, are all free agents. So Rice and Xavier Worthy are the only two they have signed up for next season. Hollywood Brown could well be a cap casualty or just a casualty full stop. Whilst Juju Smith-Schuster may be expendable, they may well like to have Thornton back as the deep threat option. But this is another position they need to make additions at, possibly two this off-season. At tight end, the Chiefs apparently want Travis Kelce back for 2026, but he is seriously considering either retirement or going and playing for somebody else. And that would relieve their cap position a little more. And even if he does return, he is nowhere near the force of old. So adding a tight end is another requirement for the Chiefs, regardless of Kelsey's decision. If he's not back, that would make their, like I say, their salary, their cap space situation much better. But they may have to find a cheaper option via free agency or once again look to the draft for a successor. On the O line, as I said, the running game did not thrive behind the Chiefs O line, and they also allowed their quarterbacks to get sacked 47 times. So it looks like work is needed here too. Right tackle Juwan Taylor didn't have a good season. Left tackle Josh Simmons was okay in pass protection but struggled as a run blocker. Both guards were good, and Creed Humphrey was once again the leading centre in the league. This would seem to indicate the poor running game was more down to the backs than the O line, but both tackle positions, certainly right tackle, could be areas the Chiefs look to upgrade at this off-season, unless they think Jalen Moore can step up to fill that void. At defensive tackle, the Chiefs ranked a creditable 10th against the run last season. Chris Jones remains one of the best defensive tackles in the league. Derek Nady started beside him but ranked near the bottom of defensive tackles according to PFF. He and Jerry Tillery are both free agents this offseason. If they bring neither of them back, they would either need last year's second round pick Omar Norman Lott to step up to start alongside Jones, or go find a replacement. On the edge, the Chiefs' pass defense ranked eighth last season, but they lack much of a pass rush from the outside. George Karlaftis had 6 sacks and Charles Omenihu had 3.5, but nobody else had more than 1.5 from the edge. So this is yet another position of need they need to add at this at the off season in order to get more pressures on the likes of Bo Nix and Justin Herbert next season. Inside linebacker. The Chiefs were really well served by Nick Bolton, Drew Tranquil, and Leo Chanel at inside linebacker last season. And with all three signed up for 2026, at least we have a position the Chiefs can leave alone this off-season. Safety, Shamari Connor and Brian Cook. Cook was ranked fourth by PFF, but Connor was way down their rankings. And the bad news here is that Cook is at the end of his rookie deal and will want paying this off-season. So some of that cap space the Chiefs have created will need to be spent on getting Cook back. They may also stick with Connor. They also have depth guys Mike Edwards and Dion Bush hitting free agency. So adding a safety to fill one of those gaps left by them looks to be another need for the Chiefs. At cornerback, considering the lack of a pass rush, the Chiefs' secondary was actually really good against the pass last season. Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson were both amongst the best cornerbacks in the league. Watson's now a free agent and will want a big pay rise as a result of his performances. So again, the cap space, some of the cap space that looks on Brian Cook may be coming his way as the Chiefs need to re-sign him. Special teams, Matt Aritha did a good job punting. He's now an exclusive right free agent, so the Chiefs will need to lock him up. Harrison Butker had far from a great year, missing 5 of 19 field goals beyond 40 yards, and also fluffing a four extra point attempts. Dumping him would be harsh considering how good a servant he has been for the Chiefs. It would also incur a cap hit. So that may mean Butker's back in 2026. But if the Chiefs are going to make an attempt to catch the Broncos and Chargers in the AFC West next season, then this is their wish list that they need to get ticked off. They need to upgrade at running back. They need 1 or 2 wide receivers. They need a tight end. They need an offensive tackle, an edge rusher, and they need to use cap space to re-sign Brian Cook and Jalen Watson. So they've created themselves some cap positions, and they need to find 6 players via the draft or via free agency to tick off all the needs this off season. So the 6 draft picks in the first 176 that they have at the 2026 draft are going to be really important if the Chiefs are to be divisional championship contenders once again in 2026. If it were anybody but the Chiefs, I would say 2026 would add the look of a transitional year, with 2027 and beyond being a more realistic timescale for them to be back on top in the AFC West. But this is the Chiefs, so don't rule them out for next season. So that's the Chiefs looked at in the state of the franchise address. Next up, another team who had a really disappointing season, the Cincinnati Bengals. So expect that one in the next day or so, maybe in the next few hours. See you soon.